Have you ever heard of the SS Tilawa? It's a name that has been largely lost to history, but the story behind it is a forgotten chapter of World War II that deserves to be told. It's a tale of a seemingly ordinary ship, a devastating attack, and a silence that lasted for decades. Picture this. It's November 1944. The war in Europe is raging, but in the Indian Ocean, things are supposed to be relatively safe. The SS Tilawa, a British Indian passenger and cargo ship, sets sail from Bombay, now Mumbai, heading for Durban, South Africa. On board are nearly 1,000 people, a mix of passengers, crew, and even some Italian prisoners of war. The ship is also carrying a secret, valuable cargo, 2.5 million silver rupees, meant to pay for war efforts. The journey starts out like any other. Passengers are settling in. Life aboard the ship carries on. But just 2 days into the voyage, under the cover of darkness, disaster strikes. Unbeknownst to anyone on the Tilawa, they are being stalked by the Japanese submarine I-29. In the dead of night, torpedoes tear through the hull of the ship. Chaos erupts. The first explosion plunges the ship into darkness, and the second seals its fate. Imagine the sheer panic. The ship is listing, sinking fast into the cold, dark waters of the Indian Ocean. Lifeboats are launched amidst the screams and confusion. Hundreds of people are thrown into the sea, clinging to debris, desperately trying to survive. It was a scene of utter horror, a civilian ship targeted without warning. For 2 long days, the survivors drift, battling exposure and thirst, praying for rescue. Finally, the British cruiser HMS Suffolk and the merchant ship SS Carthage arrive on the scene, pulling more than 670 survivors from the water. But tragically, over 280 lives were lost, including men, women, and children. So why haven't most of us heard about this? Why did a tragedy of this scale, an attack on a ship carrying hundreds of Indian citizens, seemingly vanish from the headlines? The answer lies in the complex politics of the time. In 1944, India was still under British rule, and the focus of the Allied war effort was squarely on defeating the Axis powers in Europe and the Pacific. The sinking of a passenger ship, while tragic, was considered a wartime loss that could potentially damage morale if heavily publicized. The British authorities downplayed the incident, and news of the attack was heavily censored. The narrative was controlled to prevent panic and maintain public support for the war. In India, the story was met with a strange and telling silence. The independence movement was gaining momentum, and nationalist leaders were more focused on the struggle against British colonial rule than on a naval incident carried out by Japan. For some Indian nationalists at the time, the enemy of their enemy was seen, in a complex way, as a potential friend. Japan's campaign was framed as Asia for the Asiatics, and there was a degree of sympathy for any power challenging British dominance. Publicly condemning Japan for the attack would have complicated the anti-colonial narrative, so the story was simply not told. The victims were not mourned on a national scale. It became a historical footnote. For decades, the story of the SS Tilawa and its victims remained buried in maritime archives and the memories of the survivors' families. It wasn't until a salvage operation in 2017 successfully recovered the silver treasure from the shipwreck that the story finally resurfaced, bringing this forgotten tragedy back into the light. The sinking of the SS Tilawa is a powerful reminder that history is not always straightforward. It's a story of loss, survival, and the complex, often uncomfortable, reasons why some stories are told and others are silenced. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this piece of hidden history as fascinating as I did, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more stories that deserve to be remembered. See you in the next video.